YouTube, it's Tone back with another one for you. This one is a new version of the bill of exchange process. This shit is super detailed. I think you're gonna love this whole shit. It really goes into a lot of detail. We're gonna get into different laws, um, different code statutes, and all this shit that backs all this up, so you guys can get a little bit more of an understanding of how this works, and you can understand that this is 100% lawful. This is actually how you are supposed to be operating, and if everybody was doing this, the country wouldn't be in debt right now. These assholes wouldn't be allowed to do what they're doing. And I mean, honestly, everything would be fucking way, way better. So you don't fucking need to use. I mean, they do serve their purpose. I'm not gonna front. So the banks do serve their purpose, but you don't need to be borrowing credit from them, taking loans from them, or none of that fucking crazy shit. None of that crazy shit. But they do serve a purpose as far as being able to transfer money electronically quickly, and that's about it. Aside from that, you don't got to be asking them for shit because you are the banker. So that's one thing that you really should know. So we're gonna get into this right here. So the first thing that you gotta know is, hang on a second. All right. So first thing you gotta know is the back of your social security card. Look at that. The line that you sign on, that it says sign here, that line is a micro line that is actually a word. And if you get a magnifying glass, you're gonna see that it says authorized representative on it, and it's actually in the form, it's actually in the form of a line, and you sign on that shit. Why would they put that shit in so fucking microscopic? Ask yourself that question. So IBOE, International Bill of Exchange Instructions. In order to create the International Bill of Exchange, now mind you, it doesn't necessarily have to say it on there, but you can put International Bill of Exchange on there, because once you fill this out, your Bill of Exchange, and put the $1 stamp on there, that immediately puts you into the private foreign international bankers, what do you call it, venue. So that's where you're going to find your remedy as well. But it is international in the sense that you're dealing with the U.S. and they are foreign to us, so we are foreign to them, which makes this an international matter. Okay, so in order to create your international bill of exchange, you will first need to make the claim on your strawman with a private security agreement, the previously unclaimed funds at the Federal Reserve branch where your account is located, and file your public notice with the UCC1 at the Secretary of State in the state where you were born, and then UCC1 in the state where you currently live. If you're, and I mean, you can file this anywhere really, because ultimately it's going to be valid everywhere commercially, because commercial is commercial. So if you're, but I mean, you definitely should do, follow this process if you ever can though. So file it wherever you have to, and then maybe wherever you live as well. So if your social security card does not have an 8-digit number preceded by the letter on the back, you have to apply for a replacement card. In California, it is easy to file electronically after you get your UCC1 filing done. Now you can do partial assignments to collateralize the amount stated on your IBOE. So what they mean by this, your what's it called? Partial assignment is going to be done on a UCC3, and you're going to assign some of the interest, which is what your lien is indicating. The interest is going to be the amount that your lien is for. So you can assign partial amounts of that to your instrument that you're going to be creating, whatever it may be. 100,000 to get a house, 100,000 to get a car. You're going to assign 100,000 for each instrument that you're creating. So you want to make one UCC3 for each of these, and that's going to make your instrument from the private and make it valid in the public. So since your strawman's filing is unlimited, meaning that you have unlimited credit, you may do an infinite number of partial assignments. Pull up the IBOE guide and print it out. Open up the IBOE template, open the Fed Bank A to L list, and select your corresponding Fed branch from the list. Start filling out the template with your info, being very careful to check every line. Make out your letter and instructions, generally following the examples, right? So you don't have to get fancy or do nothing crazy. There's concepts or principles involved here, and essentially that's what you want to stick to. It isn't necessarily that there's one way to do any of this. There is no one way to do any of this shit. If somebody says that they have the way, they're fucking lying. In about an hour, you can retrieve the recorded UCC3 on your email and print it out. Print out your IBOE on 100% cotton bond paper, and then you want to print it in color as well. And you staple the UCC3 that's gonna be making your instrument valid, and it's gonna give them a reference number for them to go look it up at the Secretary of State website. So, and that's your private bank. So they're gonna see that there is a value there. So staple the UCC3 to the IBOE. Create the third-party affidavit of service describing all of the contents inside the envelope. Print the points and authorities document, which is going to be like examples in codes and statutes, your letter of instruction, the third-party affidavit of service, and include them in your mailing envelope. Before sealing the envelope, make copies of all the content of your records, because you need to make sure that you're keeping score of what you're doing here. Because at some point you may have to bring these people to court if they don't want to honor your instrument, and have them explain why they think that it's not valid at all. So your 6-digit sequential document number, you make this number up, and that's going to be whatever you name your document. It could be 00053, whatever the hell you want, right? So the registered U.S. mail number that is on the envelope that you mailed this in. And you definitely want to get that on your documentation too. That's going to be proof of, I mean, not necessarily proof, but you want to keep everything listed as exhibits, if you will, right? So you want to go ahead and keep good records and document each document with maybe a letter and a number, so that way if at any point you go to court, you can pull up your examples of what you're going to be using for your case and things like that too. So file them as if you're going to use them as an exhibit in court, because you may actually have to do that. So name and address of the FRB, the Federal Reserve Bank, where your account resides in, and see the routing number list. So I wouldn't use these either, to be honest with you. So you don't have to do any of that crazy shit. So change this number to your document number. Okay, so that's actually better right there. So put the routing number of your Federal Reserve Bank. This is the number on the back of your Social Security card. So it's gonna have like a letter and some digits after. So do not change any letters. This is the number on the back of your Social Security card. The letter in front designates your Federal Reserve Bank. See the list. Name and address of the person or agency that sent you the presentment. And so the reason why I wouldn't put all that personal shit like the numbers on the back of your social is because these people are actually going to get their hands on it. And personally, I wouldn't give that shit to these people like that, because they don't even fucking need it. So name and address of the person or agency that sent you the presentment. Your strawman name in exactly this format. Your Social Security number without the dashes. Name of the person or agency that sent you the presentment. Amount of the demand written out, so in numbers and then written out in letters. So your Christian name and address in exactly the same format shown. Your Christian signature, the date of mailing, identify the presentment invoice number. 18, identify the letter of instruction, and notice the memorandum of law points and authorities. Notice the inclusion of the UCC3 and or A4V presentment. So you want to make sure that you go ahead and make reference to everything that you're putting in there, itemized, and make it clear exactly what that document is. So if you ever have to reference it, and maybe even put the name and letter of the number that you marked it as, and mark that down. So UCC3 assignment statement. So this is where you're going to assign partial interest of the initial loan. The initial lien. You're going to assign partial interest. So whatever you need to grab, if it's a car, whatever, the amount of that you're going to go ahead and put on a UCC. So if your car is $92,000, you're going to go ahead and make a UCC3 partial assignment for that value to your specific instrument. So this is a partial assignment of the collateral stated in the UCC financing statement number, whatever it is, and that's your number, you make that up, to secure the funds of the International Bill of Exchange. And that's going to be the number of the Bill of Exchange that you go ahead and create. So for filing a new UCC1, to include your exemption account number, which is your social without the dashes, the UCC1 financing statement modification. So you're going to modify the initial UCC1, and it's going to be referenced here, and the accounting should be shown here as well. So in accordance with various United States codes concerning property, this is the entry of the debtor in the commercial registry as a transmitting utility, and the following property is hereby registered at the same certificate of birth, document number, whatever it may be, employer ID, right? You get your exemption account. I do the decedent estate as well. So Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond personal exemption account number bond. So mind you, I wouldn't do all that either. So personal UCC contract trust account. And then so this is pending, and this is what you would send in if you were to send a bond to like a private bond to the Treasury, which I did before too as well. So you have a bunch of options here. You don't only have to use their shit. I do use the strawman that they set up. I secure that, and I also fund it as well. I don't pull out of that. I don't pull out of the strawman trust that the U.S. set up. I only take out of there whatever I put in. I don't take any benefit from them at all. So if I deposit instruments in there, then I take them out of there as well. But I personally don't take anything from them as far as a benefit. So in the amount of unlimited, because we have unlimited credit. So all property is accepted for value and is exempt from levy. Adjustment of this filing is from Public Policy HJR 192, June 5th, 1933. Then we have Public Law 73-10, which is referencing that again, only codified here. And then UCC 10-104, which is all going to be the same thing, coded in different ways. So all proceeds, products, and fixtures, accounts, and the orders therefrom are released to the debtor. This is actual and constructive notice that all debtors' interest now owned or hereafter acquired is hereby accepted as collateral for securing contractual obligation in favor of the secured party as detailed in a true, correct, complete, and certain notarized security agreement in the possession of the secured party. And so you keep the original notarized agreement. That's going to be your UCC3, and then you send them a copy to the Secretary of State as well. So original UCC financing statement number, and that's going to be whatever it is. That's going to be your reference number that you get from the Secretary of State as soon as you file it online, is incorporated within this filing. So you're making reference to everything you have there and exactly to the reason why this shit needs to be done, and you're not really leaving them in out. Not that they even need it now, because they're really going to get paid off this shit if they just fucking process the paperwork. It's really that simple. So, but they may play stupid, you know. They may just try to play dumb. Or maybe they are dumb. I mean, who even fucking knows? You know what I mean? So, letter of instruction regarding international bill of exchange. So, registered mail number. You have the creditor, secured party, working our way down. So, this is the top part of the bill of exchange. And then you're going to see the whole picture of it after. But I have it here cut in half so I can actually read it, because it's fucking tiny otherwise. So your charges are accepted for value. Letter of instruction. So your charges are accepted for value for consideration in return for full settlement, discharge, and closure of your demand presentment letter concerning account number XYZ. Secure party creditor does not accept your contract or the conditions of your contract. However, accepts your invoice for value and honors it with the discharge instrument as the remedy provided by law. So you don't agree to any of the contracts here. What you are agreeing to is the offer, and you are going to go ahead and discharge the balance using your unlimited exemption, which everybody has. Everybody has it. You already had it, and you've been looking for it though. So the attached international bill of exchange document number XYZ is tendered in the amount of 100,000 XYZ for full settlement and closure of your account, whatever it is here. So these instruments are presented by a notary on public demand for acceptance or dishonor. Always send this shit via notary, because then these people cannot pretend they have never received it, which they probably will otherwise, to be honest with you. Okay, so process the international bill of exchange through the collection department of your bank. Your bank is required by law to treat the instrument as an obligation of the United States. And it is, because any debt is an obligation of the United States. So if you have a valid written contract agreement that you are now owing them money on, because you both agreed to it, that is now an obligation of the United States. Simply for the reason that we granted them the privilege of operating on our soil. So everything's fucking free, or they can leave. So once the international bill of exchange is used as an asset, such as in a borrower, in custody, BIC arrangement, you are required by law to adjust the account. Provide to me a copy of the executed frank document and evidence of the discharge, accounting within 30 days of receipt of this document. Attached memorandum of law and points and authorities document. So number 4, should you fail to adjust the account and or dishonor the enclosed international bill of exchange instrument number XYZ, the notary will note your dishonor, and you may be adjudicated administratively within admiralty, which you will be, because you're going to put your $1 stamp on it. That's going to put you right into the Universal Postal Union, and they can go explain this shit to the fucking military. You know what I'm saying? So should you fail to respond and act accordingly, your dishonor will be evidence of conversion, theft of funds. That's a felony right there, and your friends can't help you. So the enclosed international bill of exchange number XYZ, points and authorities, accepted for value, presentment, and this letter of instruction are hereby presented. And you got your notary here. Your notary is going to stamp this. They're going to go ahead and fill that out accordingly, like they do. And all that the notary is doing here is just basically saying that it is in fact you that signed it. That's it. They don't have no fucking say about anything otherwise. They're just saying that it was you. That's all. So here we have a list of the Federal Reserve banks that. So when you look at the back of your social, you're going to see like a letter, and then there'll be a set series of numbers. The letters correspond to a bank location, and then the number after that will be the bank and routing number and all that. So you got A through H here: Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Cleveland, Richmond, Atlanta, Chicago, St. Louis. Right, and so that's how you're going to be able to figure out who it is that that's actually holding that specific account based on that card. But if you get a new social security card, if you lose it, look at the back, it's going to be a different bank. You can get up to 10 because there's 10 different Federal Reserve banks. They monetize your ass fucking 10 times. So you got 10 UCC accounts because there's 10 banks that are fucking harvesting on that. So, you know, do what you will with that. I personally wouldn't go try to draw funds out of them. Because to me, to be honest with you, I feel like that shit is stealing because it isn't yours. You didn't fucking make it. You can make your own shit. You can put the lien down. Now that's your own personal bank, your own personal credit. You don't need shit from them anymore. Really that simple. So it is the game of chess. Stop playing chess with these clowns. That's what I got for you for now. Until we meet again.